Everyone treats Made in Italy like a sacred guarantee. 4 words that are supposed to mean master craftsmanship, generations of tradition, and materials worth every cent you paid. And for decades, that was true. But right now, at this moment, the end of Made in Italy, as you know, it is already here. Your luxury gear, the bag, the jacket, the shoes you saved up for, there's a very real chance the label on it is legal fiction. Not counterfeit, not a knockoff. Something worse. A system designed to let brands charge you heritage prices for products that barely touched Italian soil. And I'm going to show you exactly how they pull it off. I've spent the better part of a year pulling customs filings, interviewing former production managers, and reading EU trade regulation fine print that most consumers will never see. What started as a simple question, does this label actually mean anything, turned into something much uglier. We're talking about an industry where a single handbag retails for $1,200, but the combined cost of materials and labor sits between $60 and $90. Where billion-dollar conglomerates maintain ghost addresses in Florence and Milan, while the real stitching happens 3,000 miles away. Where the phrase Italian leather has been diluted to the point of near meaninglessness. And here's what makes it sting. None of this is technically illegal. The European Union's rules of origin, specifically under Regulation 952/2013, allow a product to be stamped Made in Italy as long as the last substantial transformation happens on Italian ground. That sounds reasonable until you realize how creatively that phrase gets interpreted. A bag can be cut in China, sewn in Romania, and then have its handles attached and a final quality check performed in a small workshop outside Naples. And that's enough. 4 words. Full price. Almost no Italian labor involved in the parts that actually matter. So let's break this open. 5 lies. The luxury industry is banking on you never questioning. And then 5 signs that separate the real from the theater. Let's start with the lie that's hiding in plain sight on almost every luxury price tag. Lie number 1. The loophole they built the entire system on. The last substantial transformation rule was originally designed for legitimate manufacturing. It was supposed to mean that the country doing the most meaningful production work gets the origin credit. Fair enough. But luxury conglomerates have turned this into an art form of legal gymnastics. Investigative reporting by the Italian newspaper Il Sole 24 Ore found cases where up to 80% of a product's assembly was completed overseas before being shipped to Italy for finishing. We're talking about attaching hardware, stitching a lining, and applying a coating. Minor steps. But under the current interpretation, those steps can qualify as substantial. The product lands on a shelf with a Made in Italy tag, and you pay a premium that assumes Italian hands built it from scratch. Based on supply chain audits published by campaign groups like the Clean Clothes Campaign, this pattern isn't an outlier. It's standard operating procedure for several major houses. Lie number 2. The Ghost Factory. This one is genuinely unsettling. Several brands maintain registered production facilities in Italian towns. On paper, everything checks out. An address in Tuscany, a company registration number. But former production supervisors, 2 of whom spoke to investigative journalists at Reuters under condition of anonymity, described facilities with skeleton crews, a handful of workers performing final inspection or packaging. The real volume. Manufactured in Romania, Turkey, parts of Eastern Europe, or Guangdong province in southern China. The Italian address exists for the label, for the story, for the $1,200 price tag that a Made in Romania stamp could never justify. And the workers in those overseas factories? Reports from organizations like China Labor Watch have documented wages that wouldn't cover a single zipper pull on the finished product. Lie number 3, and this is the one that personally got under my skin, the myth of Italian leather. When you hear Italian leather, your brain fills in the blanks. Tuscan hills, old world tanneries, artisans who've been working hide for generations. And that world does exist. We'll get to it. But here's what's far more common. Rawhides sourced from Brazil or India, shipped to tanneries in developing nations for chrome tanning, the cheapest, fastest method available. Then sent to a finishing facility in Italy, where a single top coat or color correction is applied. That final step? That's what makes it Italian leather. The hide spent maybe 72 hours on Italian ground. The tanning process, the part that actually determines the leather's quality, feel, and longevity, happened somewhere with far lower labor costs, and in many cases, far fewer environmental regulations. According to data compiled by UNIC, Italy's own leather trade association, the country imports vast quantities of semi-finished hides every year. The volume tells the story the labels won't. Lie number 4, the heritage illusion. You've seen it. Since 1921. Established 1897. A legacy of Italian craftsmanship. It sounds like you're buying into a family tradition. But what actually happened since those founding dates? In most cases, the original family sold. The brand was acquired by one of 3 or 4 massive luxury conglomerates. The original artisans retired or passed on. The workshop was replaced by industrial production, and the heritage became a line in a marketing deck. Based on public acquisition records, one major conglomerate alone owns more than 70 brands. Each one still tells its own origin story. Each one still charges like it's a small workshop with a single master craftsman. The founding date on the label isn't a quality indicator, it's a nostalgia tax. Lie number 5. And this is where the math gets brutal. The price architecture scam. Let's take a mid-range luxury handbag. Retail price, $1,200. According to teardown analyses published by former industry executives and corroborated by financial analysts covering the luxury sector, the bill of materials on that bag, leather, thread, hardware, lining, runs about $35 to $50. Labor, even when partially performed in Italy, adds another $20 to $40. So you're looking at $60 to $90 in actual production cost. Where does the other $1,100 go? Marketing gets the biggest slice, then retail margin, then corporate overhead, then profit. The product itself, the thing you're actually holding, represents roughly 7 to 8 cents of every dollar you spent. The rest? You're subsidizing ad campaigns, flagship store leases on Via Monte Napoleone, and executive compensation packages. That's not craftsmanship pricing. That's brand mythology pricing. These are the kind of truths brands hope you never discover. If this is valuable to you, consider subscribing. We break down industry secrets like this every single week. Now, before you swear off everything with an Italian zip code, there are still makers doing it right. But you have to know what separates them from the theater. Sign number 1 that you're getting the real thing. Vertically integrated production. This is the gold standard. Brands that own their own tanneries, cut their own patterns, and assemble under one roof in Italy. No outsourcing, no ghost factories, no last substantial transformation games. Companies operating in regions like the Ponte Aegola leather district in Tuscany, where vegetable tanning has been practiced for centuries, often fall into this category. When a brand controls every step from raw hide to finished product, the Made in Italy label actually means something. It's not a legal technicality. It's a verifiable fact. Look for brands that name their specific tanneries and workshops. If they won't tell you where the product was made beyond Italy, that vagueness is a red flag, not sophistication. Sign number 2. Transparent supply chain documentation. The brands that genuinely earn the label tend to be proud of their process. They publish factory locations. They invite third-party audits. Some even include QR codes or lot numbers that let you trace a product back to a specific production run. This level of openness costs money and effort, which is exactly why the brands gaming the system avoid it. If a company's website talks endlessly about heritage and passion, but won't show you a single photo of the actual workshop floor, draw your own conclusions. Transparency isn't a marketing trend for the real ones. It's how they differentiate themselves from the noise. Sign number 3. Specific regional indicators that actually matter. Italy's manufacturing strength was never generic. It was always regional. Biella for woolen textiles, Montebelluna for technical footwear construction, Ponte Aegola and the Santa Croce district for vegetable tanned leather, Brescia for firearms and precision metalwork. When a brand ties its product to a specific region and a specific process tradition, that's a level of detail that's very hard to fake. Generic made in Italy can mean anything. Vegetable tanned in Santa Croce Salerno using chestnut bark extract is a statement you can actually verify. The specificity is the signal. Sign number 4, repairability and warranty terms. This one is a litmus test that cuts through every layer of marketing. A brand that stands behind its product for years, not seasons. That is telling you something about how it was built. Brands using genuine Italian construction methods like Blake stitching or Goodyear welting produce footwear that can be resoled multiple times. A bag with reinforced stress points and replaceable hardware is designed for a decade of use. If a company offers a 2-year warranty on a $1,500 product, and their repair program is essentially non-existent, they've already told you the product's real expected lifespan. The math on cost per year of ownership will expose the value proposition faster than any marketing claim. Sign number 5. What the people who actually work with these products every day have to say. Independent cobblers, leather restoration professionals, and enthusiast communities are the unfiltered quality check that no brand can control. Forums dedicated to leather goods, boot and shoe communities, and subreddits with tens of thousands of members have collectively handled, worn, and repaired more luxury products than any single reviewer. When the same 3 or 4 brands keep showing up, in cobbler recommendations and enthusiast blind tests, the consensus wasn't bought with a marketing budget. It was earned stitch by stitch. Ask a cobbler which brands they see come in for repair after 6 months and which ones they see after 6 years. The answers will rewrite your shopping list. Here's what this all comes down to. Made in Italy used to be a promise. A handshake between the person making the product and the person buying it. You paid more because more went into it. More skill, more time, better materials. And that handshake has been broken. Not by every Italian maker, but by a system that allows corporate scale deception to wear the same label as genuine craft. The problem was never Italy. Italian manufacturing at its best is still among the finest in the world. The problem is a regulatory framework that treats a final top coat the same as full production. A labeling system that rewards legal creativity over honest representation. And a consumer culture that was trained to trust 4 words on a tag without ever asking what they actually mean. So here's what you do going forward. 1. Demand specifics. If a brand says made in Italy, ask where, which factory, which region, which process. If they can't answer or won't answer, that tells you everything. 2. Learn the regions. 5 minutes of research into Italy's actual manufacturing districts will give you a filter that eliminates 90% of the noise. 3. Check the construction, not the label. Blake-stitched soles, vegetable tanned leather, hand-painted edges. These are verifiable craft indicators that no amount of creative labeling can fake. 4. Calculate cost per year, not retail price. A $400 boot you wear for 8 years costs $50 a year. A $1,200 fashion boot that falls apart in 18 months costs $800 a year. The luxury purchase was the cheaper one all along. The era of blind trust in a country of origin label is over, but the era of informed buying, where you choose based on evidence, not mythology, that's just getting started. And once you see the difference, you can't unsee it. If this changed the way you think about what's on the label, drop the brand that surprised you most in the comments. And if you want to stay ahead of the industry spin, subscribe. Because next week, we're tearing open another market that's been charging premium prices for commodity products. You won't want to miss it.